I'm an investigative journalist and an attorney. In fact, I was an investigative journalist a lot longer than I have been as an attorney. I started out in 1970, early 70s, when I was in Beirut, Lebanon. Because I'd been born in Beirut, my father was in the Foreign Service. He died when I was very young. Spent my life growing up in the States, but I went back to Beirut with my mother in high school, fell in love with the Middle East, and then after college and graduate school, ended up going back there. My mother by then had died. My father died when I was an infant. And so I was a journalist, and I traveled all over the Middle East, and I'm sure that probably subconsciously more than anything had a role in my decision to take on George W. Bush for leading us into a war on false premises. The horrendous suffering of the Iraqi people really bothered me intensely. And also, of course, sending our troops over there for an unnecessary reason. It was all based on a lie. It happened that a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, put a copy of Vincent Bugliosi's book in my hands, and that book is entitled The Prosecution of George W. Bush for Murder. And there is a section in the book that says that any district attorney or any attorney general can prosecute Bush. And I thought, you know, I'm running for attorney general. I'd already decided to run before she even gave me the book. And I was considering what the issues were going to be. And then when I read that any attorney general could do this, I thought, well, I'm not an attorney general yet, but I could make it part of my campaign. A lot of people think that you can't go after a president at all, that the president has immunity. And the fact of the matter is the president has immunity while he's in office. But when he's outside of office, he's like you or me. He's just a regular citizen. There's ample evidence now that the White House, Dick Cheney, Condoleezza Rice, and Donald Rumsfeld, they used to sit around in a room and talk about what kind of enhanced interrogation could be performed. You know, the bottom line in all of this is, what is Bush's defense? Supposing we were to bring him to trial in a Vermont courtroom or in any other courtroom in the United States where we could find an elected district attorney or an attorney general. What would his defense be to murder? He's only got one defense. His defense is self-defense, that Saddam Hussein was an imminent threat. And we've already proven that he was not. So therefore his self-defense falls. What we had here was some people call it a coup d'etat, a silent, secret coup d'etat. We didn't even know how much they had been running our government by writ, just because, by order, because the president says that this has to happen. The second part of my book is about the accountability movement that I met along the way. That's even in the title. That's where I started learning about a movement that I didn't know it was so big. Then I found women's groups like Code Pink, which was an anti-war group sort of mocking the terrorist threat levels. They took up, instead of Code Orange or Code Red, they took Code Pink. The movement is out there. The problem is the media is not covering it. We need more people to get involved, because if we don't keep active, we may go back to what it was under Bush in a new election. We need to preserve our democracy and fight for it.